कुमार स्वामी नायक है गोंगो लिबू लटोका रेडियो फीजी 2 में पुराना गाना लगे हमें बहुत अच्छा लगे
रेडियो फीजी 2 देश की धड़कन.
In the news tonight, new COVID-19 strain poses a threat to our islands. Always be prepared, say villagers. And Lekutu and Wainunu in Vanuatu are top priority.
From the studios of FBC Suva, Edwin Nana.
Pulawanaka, Fiji. The new COVID-19 variant discovered in the United Kingdom and which has spread to other countries including Australia is likely to transmit to the Pacific Islands including Fiji in the near future. Health Minister Dr. Ifiremi Wangainambete says this has prompted them to reposition Fiji's border quarantine protocols and processes with the recommencement of inbound passenger flights today. Details with Josiah Nanunga.
Fiji's COVID-19 Risk Mitigation Task Force is working around the clock to ensure we remain amongst the COVID-contained countries.
Number one, we have to have very good surveillance. So our surveillance is actually making sure that even though the people coming back into Fiji, they have to have their RT-PCR test. Once they're negative, they come into Fiji within the first 48 hours, they have another RT-PCR. And then before they go home, on the 14th day, they have another RT-PCR. They all have to be negative.
Dr. Wangainambete says the stringent border surveillance and quarantine protocol is critical as inbound travelers can contract the virus while transiting or during the flight.
And so the question has always been, how come they were negative there and they're positive here? Now remember, they were negative 72 hours before. So in transit, in travel, they have to come through the airport. They could have picked it up there. They could have picked it up on flight. They could have picked it up in transit again. Because, for example, coming from the United Kingdom have to come through Hong Kong. So those are the places where they could have picked up the virus.
The health minister is urging Fijians to continue practicing good hygiene, particularly during this festive season.
With this UK variant, it's more transmissible. So we just have to continue to remember our personal hand hygiene, our hand hygiene. I think that's beginning to wane off. We need to encourage to wash hands, have our, for those who can afford, have their, their hand sanitizers. Those who can't have soap, encourage our children who are with us at home at the moment to wash their hands regularly.
We must continue washing our hands with soap and water and maintain 2 meters distance from another person.
Fijians must continue adhering to the COVID-19 safety measures given by the health minister.
Dr. Wangainambete also confirmed that the 2 active COVID-19 cases in Fiji remain in isolation and both are recovering well. Josiah Nanunga, FBC News.
Passenger flights to Fiji recommence today with new adaptations to border quarantine protocols. Following the discovery of a more contagious strain of the coronavirus in the United Kingdom, the Health Ministry has completed an extensive review of its border quarantine processes. The entry swab test will be conducted over days 3 and 4 to reduce the risk of a false negative result and improve the ability to identify cases of in-flight transmission. Stricter in-room quarantine protocols will be enforced with no outdoor activity for new arrivals until a negative entry swab test result is received. Heightened COVID-safe measures will be implemented for all Border Health Unit personnel and Hospital Isolation Unit frontline staff. There will also be a tightly controlled weekly quota on inbound passenger numbers because border health protection staff and facilities are being used to help with the cyclone response. Districts of Lekutu and Wainunu in the Northern Division are the 2 main areas of concern following the destruction caused by Tropical Cyclone Yasa. Commissioner Northern Division Uraya Rainima says this was determined following the completion of the initial damage assessment. Rainima says transportation and access to safe drinking water are being prioritized in the 2 affected districts. Kritika Kumar reports.
The Commissioner Northern Division says about 50% of Lekutu has had their water supply restored.
We have 41 trucks that are taking water to these areas right now. And hopefully we will finish Lekutu by this week so that they can have a good time to work on the Wainunu areas.
Rainima has also acknowledged the 2 organizations Lifelight and Sea Mercy for stepping in to help with the supply of relief items to the affected maritime islands in the Northern Division.
Right now, there are 3 yachts based at Yandua to continue to assist them with the generation of water into the island. And 4 more are expected to arrive on Wednesday.
Disaster Management Minister Ignazio Ratu says WEF technicians are working on water schemes in the affected maritime islands. Our team is currently working on the underwater pipes from Lekutu to Ngaloa that was broken at the height of TC Yasa.
Pushed in additional staff from Water Authority in Suva, additional fleet as well. Suva pushed 11 trucks that have the carrying capacity of 10,000 liters.
Ranima says that a team from the RFMF Engineers Division has been deployed to Kia Island to clean up and build temporary shelters. He adds the team has started work yesterday and will be there for some time. Kritika Kumar, FBC News.
Nandivakarua villagers in Kumbulaumbua believe it's vital to be prepared for any natural disaster. Village headman Ambereli Nausu says he had to use his authority to ensure that all villages were prepared well for the Category 5 tropical cyclone Yasa. Nausu says 2 houses in the village were destroyed and others damaged. Kritika Kumar again.
The village headman says they started feeling the wind from 2 p.m., which later became stronger.
All we need now is food and water. There are families who have suffered a lot, as 2 families have lost their homes and majority of the houses have sustained some damage.
Luisa Kaloniviti moved to the village 6 months ago and her house was heavily damaged by the cyclone.
I just thought of the children, but I have to be strong because of the kids. One of my kids was crying as it's the first time for him to experience such a cyclone.
Kaloniviti says she was concerned about her kids and keeping safety in mind, they moved into an evacuation center.
Our kitchen was blown away and the roof was damaged, but for now all we need is food, napkins, clothes and diapers for the children.
The villagers are now working together to ensure the houses they rebuild are Category 5 cyclone resilient. Abireli Nausu says he doesn't want villagers to go through the same situation again. Kritika Kumar, FBC News.
Up ahead, UN takes up helping role post-cyclone. And hotels plan New Year's with a difference.
Baik tu dia jadi beratahu Radio Fiji बहुत Radio Fiji रोज सुनता हूँ.
रेडियो फीजी 2 देश की धड़कन.
Welcome back. The United Nations Development Programme is helping reach out to communities severely affected by TC Yasa. The UN is covering everything from providing temporary classrooms to helping heal the traumas of victims. Jeshulal reports.
The United Nations Resident Coordinator, Sanaka Samarsina, says one major priority is to work with the Fijian government and ensure school tents are set up as classrooms to meet the children's educational needs.
We really need to move quickly to make sure that it's not just the tents or the repair of the infrastructure, but the environment is healthy.
However, health still remains a major concern in various affected areas.
We remain worried about the possibility of health impacts. We know after such a disaster we have problems with dengue and leptospirosis and typhoid, and the north up there is a hotspot anyway.
The United Nations is ensuring that the assistance given to those affected is well coordinated.
Whilst it was very positive to note that there was a lot of assistance coming from Fiji and overseas, it's vitally important that this assistance and this response is coordinated.
Meanwhile, students and parents traumatized by the Force 5 hurricane are being counseled by a UN team of health officials. Jeshulal, FBC News.
New Year's Eve will be celebrated in a different way this year as the COVID-19 pandemic has introduced a new normal, with the curfew still in place and people required to celebrate New Year's within the confines of their homes or buildings. Most resorts and hotels are doing the same. Many have arranged for their own in-house New Year's Eve celebrations. Vinina Rakotonga reports.
The aim of the night is to enjoy while ensuring strict measures are still followed.
For the Tano Hotel Group, we have installed all sanitizers throughout all the hotels, Tano hotels in Fiji and also in the Pacific. And we have our registration, we have our temperature checks for all our in-house guests. Not only them, we have our suppliers too that brings in our staff. They'll have their checks as well.
Until our physical distancing will be in place, all events will be outside, inside, so there's lots of fresh air, space. We have sanitizers around. As I mentioned, physical distancing, the IHG Wave Clean promise.
For Tanoa Hotel, this is a way of boosting business after what has been a close to stagnant 2020.
For the hotels, usually December to Feb is usually our slow month, but since we have COVID as well, there was a decrease in booking in the beginning, but now it's slowly started to pick up.
We have a fantastic evening planned, which is overlooking the beach with a live band, some traditional and some innovative food stalls, as well as, of course, midnight fireworks. At the Holiday Inn in Suva, we have a barbecue, along with a live band.
Fiji Police says while people are free to celebrate in the confines of their homes or within curfew hours, Fijians need to be cautious and vigilant at all times. Vinina Rakotonga, FBC News.
Overseas, a Chinese court handed a 4-year jail term to a citizen journalist who reported from the central city of Wuhan at the peak of last year's coronavirus outbreak. This on grounds of picking quarrels and provoking trouble, her lawyer said. And it's been a while since we got to watch a release on the big screen. Amongst the first big hits of 2020, Wonder Woman 1984 has pulled in about $36 million at movie theaters around the world since its release on Christmas Day. And time now for tonight's business with Josiah Nanunga.
Thanks, Edwin. Coming up, Fijians wants more business training. An in-growing Fiji, Nadi-based company works on water supply. Stay with us.
Pula nadang bawa prosan ngarse, ngor kraki, do televisi on varong na Radio Fiji 1, na domi bit.
Radio Fiji 1.
Leading business tonight, businesses and entrepreneurs who felt the impact of COVID-19 in the Western Division are seeking more training to help them bounce back on track. Leadership and well-being coach Kitiana Chut says most of them are aspiring entrepreneurs who've been made redundant due to COVID-19. She adds the demand for financial coaching is on the rise, and she expects an influx in the number of registrations next year.
Customers, they're changing their way of thinking. And their focus is not only on generating income, but also on helping others. So we are seeing more business owners who are trying to help those in need and find solutions to their problems. So a lot of them are, offering different products now, from what they used to do.
Alibaba shares slumped 9% to their lowest since June earlier today. This as the firm's upsized $10 billion buyback program failed to ease concerns about regulatory crackdown on co-founder Jack Ma's e-commerce and financial empire. And now we join Sharon with the latest from the money market.
A total of 48,000 shares valued at around $55,000 were traded in 90 transactions last week. 4 stocks recorded market trades, following which the market capitalization dropped by 0.04%, ending the week at $3.4 billion. Elsewhere, Asian shares jumped, with Japanese stocks hitting a 30-year high. It was on hopes that a long-awaited US pandemic relief package would be expanded, while a Brexit trade deal supported investor risk appetite. On Wall Street, the S&P futures rose 0.7% in their first trade after the Christmas holiday, edging near to a record touched last week. The Nasdaq futures also rose by 0.7% and went near all-time highs. The short week ahead will be fairly quiet on the economic calendar, with most markets closing for New Year's on Friday. But for now, that's all from your HFC Bank, Vinaka.
Here are the local exchange rates as set early this morning. The money markets saw influx today following the US COVID relief increase and England's new separation agreement with the EU. The Fiji dollar showed no change against the US greenback, but rose versus the Aussie dollar and the Japanese yen. Prices were increasing on the commodities market. Oil prices rose a few cents to close at $48 a barrel. Gold was up slightly at $1,875 per ounce, and silver closed up at $26 to $31. And in growing Fiji, General Bay Sea Mercy continues to provide relief assistance to Fijians in Vunulevu affected by tropical cyclone Yasa. Today, the non-profit organization sent their 8th yacht in an effort to reach villages in the remote part. Details with Felipe Nicaso.
Supplying clean water to villages that have been devastated by tropical cyclone Yasa is one of the main priorities for Sea Mercy.
Currently, I have 7 volunteer yachts already in the remote island communities on the north coast of Vanuatu, so from Yandua east to Druandrua. The teams have gone in, they've made repairs, they've taken aid, and they're installing desalination units where they can.
Sea Mercy is also working closely with tour group Draw Experience, who have been collecting relief items in Suva and Nadi since last week.
The response has been very supportive and good, and we're very grateful, especially it's COVID season and people are out of work, but people are actually digging up stuff they're not using that people out then the coastal communities can use, you know, like a t-shirt. It's sitting in your drawer, but somebody needs it out there.
Over the next few weeks, Sea Mercy will assess other areas that may need to be covered.
And I can share with the government the needs we're finding, and hopefully we can get the other agencies to bring those needs in. But because we have a number of vessels with highly skilled crews, we can get to these small islands that are difficult to get to by boat, and we can pass the information back as they all have satellite communications with me.
Sea Mercy also provided relief assistance during Tropical Cyclone Winston in the Lau Group in 2016. Felipe Nicaso, FBC News.
And that's all from Business Tonight. Jamie is up next with all the very latest in sports.
Naka, and good evening in Sports Tonight. Fiji Mbati plans ahead. And Osea Kolonisao inspires Suva winger. There's some more coming up.
कुमारस्वामी नायक है गोंगवा लेबू लटोका रेडियो फीजी 2 में
With the current travel restrictions in place due to the ongoing global pandemic, the Fiji National Rugby League has mapped out plans to prepare the Fiji Mbati squad for next year's World Cup. The FNRL accepts coordinating players based locally and abroad simultaneously will be a tricky act to juggle, but head coach Joe Rambele believes the program they've chalked out should get the job done given the circumstances.
A is to have the players as usual, as the norm for them to actually all come down to Fiji.
Over the next 305 days, the Vodafone Fiji Party extended squad will be closed.
Finding a job isn't always easy for young Fijian men who travel from their village to the city, but every now and then rugby finds a gem. This rings true for Misaele Petero, who harnessed his rugby talent while looking for a job in Suva, a journey that's taken him all the way to the capital city's Skipper Cup winning team. And just like Suva Player of the Year Taniela Sandrungu, Petero was quite a revelation for the champions this season. Aquila Dama with the story.
Johnny Manu gets it out. Misaile
Misaele Petero left his Nakavika village in Namosi back in 2015 as a 19-year-old for better opportunities in Suva. This was where he met former Fiji Sevens captain and Olympic gold medalist Osea Kulinisau, who took him to play for the Covenant Brothers Club. I have a mentor who always encouraged, motivate and push me daily at training. When I started was Osea Kulinisau. Kulinisau's advice has been with the now 24-year-old for the past 5 years. Kulinisau told me from that first time we met and first training run that I should always faithfully train and give my best, and prayer is a must on a daily basis. While Petero credits Kulinisau, his teammate Taniela Sandrungu says his mom has been there from the start.
Not only this season, from day one I can see my lokachi career, my deans, high school, everything. She's like my nurse, my coach, my everything.
Both Sandrungu and Petero will be part of Suva's new season campaign. Aquila Dhama, FBC Sports.
Fiji heavyweight boxing champion James Singh is optimistic there'll be some good opponents for him next season. Singh, who won the heavyweight belt recently without a trainer, says he's already defeated the best boxers in the country. However, he wants new boxers to step up in the new year and challenge him. The father of two is confirmed for the first promotion of 2021 in March.
I beat all the best contenders in Fiji, and I'm looking forward for some more boys to come up, step up. There's some other good heavyweights down there, but I don't know what happened. They're not stepping up. I'm looking forward to it.
And while Ghazi scored his 5th goal in as many games as Aston Villa came from behind to earn a point against Chelsea in the English Premier League today. The 1-1 draw sees Villa move up to 5th on the table, level on points with 6th placed Chelsea, with both sides now a point outside the top 4. Meanwhile, Crystal Palace manager Roy Hodgson says it took a tough half-time team talk to spark them into life in the 1-1 draw with Leicester. The point lifts Leicester up to 2nd on the EPL table, while Palace move 8 points clear of the bottom 3. That's it from Sports Tonight. In Weird and Wonderful later on, a massage with live snakes that's supposed to make you feel relaxed. Find out more after the break.
Baik tu Randy berkata tahu, Radio Fiji बहुत Radio Fiji रोज सुनता हूँ.
रेडियो फीजी 2 देश की धड़कन.
A low-pressure trough over Fiji brought us a day of cloudy skies and occasional heavy rain. In the west, brief scattered showers marked the day. Eastwards from Pacific Harbour to Suva, there were occasional heavy downfalls and some isolated thunderstorms, and up north, more of the same. At sea, the winds are northeasterly at 10 to 15 knots with moderate swells. Turning to the tides, the next low tide is at 1:38 a.m., followed by high tide at 7:49 tomorrow morning, and sunrise is at 6:32. A heavy rain warning remains in effect for most of Fiji. Expect cloudy skies and showers, possibly heavy at times overnight and tomorrow, with a chance of thunderstorms. Looking ahead to the last day of the year, showers, possibly heavy at times, and once again a chance of isolated thunderstorms. And in Fijian Pulse, we asked, how will you be welcoming in the new year under the new normal?
For New Year's, I will just spend it with my family in the village.
I will be going to church on the New Year's, on the New Year day.
I will spend my New Year's with family at home.
For this new year, I will be going to Savu Savu.
And recapping our main stories, new COVID-19 strain poses a threat to our islands. Always be prepared, say villagers, and UN Chief in Fiji outlines help plans for cyclone-affected areas. For these stories and others, you can tune in daily to our sister station, Gold FM, and to our poll question. This week we are asking, are you looking forward to our borders reopening? Visit our FBC website to answer. And to our shot of the day, Sonia Kajul took this at Olosara in Singatoka. You can send us newsworthy pictures and videos on email fbcnews@fbc.com.fj or share it with us via our various social media accounts, including Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. That's your news for this evening. I'll see you again tomorrow. Until then, Modemanda.
कुमार स्वामी नायक है बोंगो लुगु लटोका रेडियो फीजी 2 में पुराना गाना लगे हमें बहुत अच्छा लगे।
रेडियो फीजी 2 देश की धड़कन।